Hey everybody, welcome back to another Duel Replay. Today, I've got some more Millennium gameplay for you, and this is going to be Millennium versus Fiendsmith-Snake-Eye-Yubel. I think they might have, they had some Kashtira cards in there, but we don't count that as an archetype, do we? That being said, nevertheless, this is a pretty preeminent combo pile slop deck of this time. This is in July of this year, so about 2 months ago as of this recording. As I was really getting into Millennium, and like I said in the last couple of videos, I really love this deck. And one of the things that you need to be able to do, though, with any deck is not just be able to establish a really strong going first board, you need to be able to break boards going second. And so against a pretty strong combo deck, I want to show you how I managed to do that this turn. Well, this replay. So let's just go ahead and get into it. And as usual, I will show off the deck profiles after this, and then I will provide an unedited replay or an uncommentated replay afterwards. Okay, so we are going second. Fortunately for me, they're not playing Malice, but they are playing basically everything else. They're going to start with the Kashtira Unicorn, and that's really annoying because we had an Ash or a Max C or something like that, they'd be able to rip a card out of my extra deck this turn and next. So that's not great. Fortunately for me, we don't have a whole lot in our hands here. We've got, Maiden, Lava Golem, and some setups. So this is honestly a really good going first hand that we are going to have to make work going second. But that's fine. They're going to go ahead and they're going to start comboing off, and I'm going to let this go for a little bit because this is kind of just normal Snake Eye stuff. They got Ash, they got Birch, Poplar, everything's in rotation. And from here, they're going to go into the Fiendsmith part of the deck. Personally, when we're talking about Fiendsmith, I like putting up a Desiree with 400 negates, and it's not really the strongest thing that you can do, but it certainly is the easiest. They're going to be a little bit more, intelligent about it. They're going to pull out the Caesar, and so that's not great. They're going to pull out the Unicorn again. They're going to have Masquerena on field, and of course, pull out more Snake Eye stuff. They're assembling their end board. They've got the Appaloosa, and this is the point where they start going into the very last part of their build, which is the Yubel part of their build. So they go Samsara for Spirit of Yubel, bring out the Nightmare Pain, and this is going to keep doing stuff. They're almost finished. Bring back the Yubel. They're going to go into a Muckraker, which is actually a really interesting part of this end board, one that I really like, and bring out the Phantom, and from there, we are good. So here is our draw. It is leg. That is not super helpful, but let's see what we can do. And before we do that, I just want to very quickly examine the board state. They have nothing in hand, so we don't have to worry about Impulse, we don't have to worry about Imperm, we don't have to worry about Maxi or anything. But we do have to worry about their board, which consists of at least 9 points of interaction. Caesar is 2 special summon negations. Apo has currently 3 monster effect negations. Kashtira Unicorn is going to rip a card out of my extra deck as soon as I activate a monster effect, which, fortunately for us, we don't care about because we really only need 1 card out of our extra deck, that being our big guy, our Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. We'll get there. They do have the Masquerena for Little Knight, and that is 2 interruptions to this point. Muckraker is actually this. I think this is really cool because once Caesar has used both materials, Caesar then becomes fodder for Muckraker to prevent destruction of the board. So that's actually pretty cool. And they also have, very annoyingly, a lock. Nightmare Pain and a Phantom of Yubel means I have to attack into the Yubel in order to start cleaning up the rest of their board. And obviously with Yubel, you attack into it, you take the damage from attacking it, so it's really annoying. They also have, they also can just change one of your effects to Yubel in deck destruction, so that's really annoying. We are going to start probably with the easiest things. We're going to Lava Golem their Caesar and their Apo. So that removes 5 of their negates, which is a pretty strong start, I think. Instead of going right into Ankh, because Ankh kind of ends your turn after that, you can't summon. It's sort of like a Typhon effect. We're going to go Temple into setting Maiden of the Millennium Moon. They're going to rip a Silhouette Rabbit out of the top of our deck, which makes a little bit of sense. I think they saw that I had 2 of the big guy, so no point in just taking 1. Silhouette Rabbit does prevent me from getting Azarun, but that's not really the thing that I wanted to do. What it also allows me to do, though, is bring out Maiden of the Millennium Moon. So for the rest of this turn, which I need to be able to establish some kind of board by the end of this turn, my Unstoppable Exodia will be untargetable. So that's pretty solid. From here, we're going to go ahead and set left leg with Wedju Temple and then grab the Sengenjin. Since we have an Ankh in hand, we don't actually have to worry too much about spending life points, which is good for us right now. We will toss Heart of the Blue Eyes, and in return, they are going to Masquerena to counter that. And this is a decision that they make. This is actually the only game-losing decision that they're about to make here. Wait for it. Target Heart of the Blue Eyes. Which, in their head, I guess that makes sense. When they bring out another Snake Eyes Doom Dragon or something like that, they don't want that to be negated. Unfortunately, the one weakness of Pure Millennium is other than the fact that they have to run 5 bricks in the deck, is that if this Little Knight were to banish this left leg, I would not be able to activate Millennium Ankh, because you have to have 5 Forbidden One monsters in your hand, deck, or face up on the field. So if that monster gets banished, I can't bring out the big guy. And from this position, if I can't bring out the big guy, I have nothing. They just summon 2 more monsters on their turn and win. So that was their big mistake. If you are playing against Pure Millennium, you can look out for that. If you have a way to get rid of the left leg, then awesome. I unfortunately had to put it out on the field, otherwise we didn't have more plays. But because they did that, now I'm able to bring out my own Little Knight, and I'm going to attempt to banish their Phantom of Yubel. But because of the effect, yeah, they can just make it destroy a monster. We do get rid of that anyways, though, so it is a worthwhile trade. They're going to go ahead and do bring out Yubel, and from here we are going to go into Millennium Ankh. They bring out Linkuriboh. Very luckily for me, Linkuriboh is not Linguriboh, so this is not a trap negation. This is a attack turn to 0. So that being said, that's not very relevant here, because with Yubel, with Nightmare Pain on the field, we do have to attack into Yubel. And this is where a really, really, really cool component of Pure Millennium comes into play. There are a lot of things that you can do to get around the, more well-known locks and restrictions and stuff. And one of those is when we go into Battle Phase here, which they will do some Kashtira stuff. They're going to banish my Lava Golems. That's okay. None of these really matter. We're going to negate that, though, because they don't have anything else on field. And it also keeps them from putting something on the field. We're going to go into Battle Phase here, and because Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate's effect is actually an optional one, you don't have to activate it and boost his life points. So, when you are in a situation against Yubel and Makonko specifically, which I believe are the 2 archetypes that like to have 0 attack monsters on field that you have to attack into and take damage from, you can choose to stay at 0 attack, and in a battle between 0 attack monsters, neither of them is destroyed. So I can't just skip to main phase 2, but I can just attack into Yubel. And actually, maybe I could skip into main phase 2. It's been a while. And we're going to go ahead and set Fires of Rage. Because we were able to activate Maiden of the Millennium Moon earlier, they can't Little Knight my Exodia and prevent me from setting the next card, which is Obliterate. Boop, boop, boop. And these are the 2 cards that you are going to be setting up with Exodia. Fires of Rage is the full board wipe that just destroys everything on their side of the board. Very solid. Obliterate is underrated. Well, I think it's probably about rated. Some people don't play it, some people do. It is a once per turn compulse that stays on the field, which can be really useful, and it will become useful. We're going to Obliterate in the draw step to send back Little Knight. They don't contest that, which they probably should have, because then I just Fires of Rage, and they don't have anything other than bringing out another Yubel. And they did not draw anything that they could use. They didn't have anything to play out of the graveyard. And then we bring out our final Piece de Resistance, Obliterate Blaze. This does require there to be a spell trap card somewhere on the field, just as a heads up. But because they can't do anything here, all we have to do is activate the mandatory 1,000 life point loss in standby phase, and then we just Obliterate, compulse back their Yubel monster, and they don't even need to. They're not even, they don't even feel like finishing it out. So, whew, very long video, but this deck plays around stuff in a lot of really fun and funky ways. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck profile here. This is a pretty narrow 40-card deck here. We are running the 5 Exodia pieces because we have to. Next 5 are going to be our Maxi, Ash Blossom, as well as we are not running Call by the Grave and Crossout Designator. Crossout Designator because Maxi is the only target that we care about, and we can play under it with 1 Millennium Ankh if we need to. And no Called by because there's just not a lot of room. That really is it. Because this deck can relatively efficiently play under Maxi, it's better to just grab everything else. At least that's a determination I made. That was working for me up into Diamond. You may disagree. You may have a different spin on it. But as for the rest of our cards, we're running the 3 Millennium Ankhs, 3 Wedju Temples, 3 Millennium Shields, 3 Heart of the Blue Eyes. That is 12 cards that get you to just summoning the big guy, because that is what this deck does. If you can't do that, then you're going to be in trouble. Now, I did only have the 1 Sengenjin just because that's all I had. I now have 2. I would cut 1 Maiden for Sengenjin because Sengenjin is just another copy of Maiden, essentially, which is cool. Maiden is just so important because it does give you continuing lingering protection through the turn for your big guy. So very important. Super Poly, just to have some Super Poly targets in there. It's a really strong. It's another really strong card that is versatile, both going first and going second. And then you have the 2 Fires of Rage, the 1 Obliterate, and the 1 Blaze. That's your suite of Exodia cards that just blow out your opponent once you've established the board. It's a little, this deck is definitely tight on space because unless you're running a 60-card version, which I haven't really found a good 60-card version of it, there are plenty of cards that you don't want to draw, but that's just how it is. Lastly, we have, second to last, we have a Ra and 2 Lava Golems. Those help with the board breaking. They can also be used with Wedju Temple just to get them onto the field and then start bringing out your other Millennium monsters. And then you have a little set of floodgates here. D-Shifter, Anti-Spell, Macro. There can only be 1. And then Azarune that you can bring off of Silhouette Rabbit. And yeah, they all kind of function together to give this deck a lot of different ways to get around whatever your opponent's doing. Lava Golems and Raws for board breaking very efficiently. You can play under Maxi. You can play under D-Shifter very easily. If this was at 3, this would be in the deck at 3, 100%. Plenty of Super Poly targets. Snake Eyes Doom Dragon can be a removal ability on your turn going second. We have Zeus and Typhon here for no real reason, and then everything else is just cool. What do we want to throw in here? You could throw in a Charmer as well, just because you tend to have like an Earth or you tend to have like an Earth monster because of the suite of main ones. So Earth Charmer is generally fine. But yeah, this deck gets around a lot of gets around some tricky monster effects in some interesting ways, and that's one of the things that's really fun to play. That's really fun about it. You can do just a lot of really annoying things that most decks can't do. So, all right, let's take a look at their deck. Yep, and as you can see here, they had an entire Horus package that they didn't even get into, which makes sense. They're running a 60 card. Do they have grass in here? I don't see a grass. Yeah, they might just be running 60 cards for the hell of it, which honestly, I guess I could kind of see. I don't know if you need the 3 Spirit of Yubels. I don't know if it's a great opener. Oops. But yeah, they have Fiendsmith, they have Snake Eyes, they have Yubel, they have Kashtira, they really threw everything in here. They've got Horus, they've got a very small Millennium package themselves. And this is why Golem had to be limited to 1, is because you could splash the Golem, Wedju Temple stuff in really easily, and it works with Centurion, it works with Snake Eyes, it works with a couple other archetypes. Just overall really powerful, and they have an extra deck full of stuff. I mean, they used a lot of it. I have to admit, I think this is a pretty fun deck if you're using it. If your opponent's using it, then I don't know. Anyways. Thank you all for watching this. I will be back with more. I don't have more Millenniums, unfortunately, as much as I love this deck. A lot of the replays are like, there's something like, ooh, I waited, 20 steps of sequencing to negate the 1 spell card that actually I needed to negate, and they just quit, or you know, I flipped there can only be one and they didn't have an out for it, or I blew up their whole board with Raw and then just controlled through the rest of the turns until they, you know, they couldn't do anything, and then I just smacked them in the face. Very gratifying deck. Maybe not the most replay friendly, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. So that's gonna be it for me today. I'm gonna go ahead and send that replay going, completely unedited, without commentary. The commentary part was the important part, but anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a good one, and I will see you in the next one.